There are lots of people who say things like, to err is human, or I'm only human, I make mistakes. Usually when I hear people say things like this, it comes up when they've made a pretty big mistake, or they've hurt someone. The idea of mistakes as an essential human trait is used almost like a demand for forgiveness. I think that's nonsense. While it's true that people often make mistakes, the fact that nobody's perfect doesn't absolve you of any responsibility for your mistakes. On some level, I don't think you can ever truly make up for the big mistakes that you make in life. I think what makes a good person isn't just trying to fix your mistakes, it's learning from them. I'm not saying thinking about your mistakes or feeling bad for yourself makes you a saint, but really sitting down and trying to unpack what it is you did and why you did it can help you to avoid hurting people in the future. At least that's what I'm telling myself right this minute. Because if there isn't some hope of being better, I'm going to throw up. So, horrifying guilt aside, let's look at what I've learned. First of all, I need to be more honest with myself. A lot of the time I don't set good boundaries with other people, and a lot of that is because I'm not honest with myself, or I'm not necessarily honest with other people. Like, I'll nod along and go, sure, that's fine, when it's something that actually kind of bothers me. I'm not true enough to myself to be true to other people, I guess you could say. And I feel like that's the basis for a lot of the things that I've done wrong recently in my life. I need to not fall in the trap of letting what I want mess up my life. Because that's what caused my most recent mistake. Is I was after money and comfort, and that put me in a position where I hurt someone that I cared about. And that's not okay. I can't do that. And I ultimately hurt myself too for it, so. I can't act from a place of panic, because too often that's what I do. I put myself in a bad position, and then instead of calmly or rationally resolving it or preventing bad situations from arising in the first place, I freak out and I run away. And that is a horrible way to deal with your problems, because you never resolve things properly. You just leave people hanging, and you run through life damaging people that you care about. I need to act more deliberately. Now, it's hard for me to come up with plans, and if I make too many plans, I tend to smush myself. But I think the point isn't that I need to have some overarching scheme. I think it's more that before I take even the smallest step, I need to sit down for a second and just be with myself and think, okay, what's this really going to do? And try to put more effort into focusing and figuring out what the implications of what I'm agreeing to or saying or doing are. Another thing is I need people. Besides from people I work with, which there are a few of, but not that many, and they live kind of far away from where I live, I have one friend who actually lives in the city that I live in. And he's really busy. So that's kind of an unfortunate situation to be in, because I'm someone that needs connection. Granted, I need my space too, but if I don't have that kind of connection with people, I tend to drift and isolate, and it's not good for my mental health. So I need to find friends. That's paramount. I need to build firmer boundaries. I am someone that needs connection, but I also need to have my own space for my own thoughts and processing and focusing on what I need to focus on. Because there are things that I know of that make me better and make me feel better in my life. The problem is that they're not like team activities. So, sometimes I need to just say, hey, I can't go out to eat because that food's not good for what I'm trying to do food-wise. Or I need to, oh, hey, I can't watch another TV show, I gotta go exercise. So, in those terms, I have to set firmer boundaries in day-to-day life. But I think in broader terms, too, I need better boundaries in my relationships and things like that. I need to make sure that I'm not just agreeing blindly to stuff or whatever, because then I put myself in situations where I'm not happy, and that goes back to not being honest with myself and not being honest with other people. I need to not make plans for a while, because my plans of late have been terrible, and then my opinions change or I get new information, and I still have to do this thing that it turns out I don't want to do. So until I figure out how to be honest with myself and how to do things deliberately. I don't feel like I should go around making a bunch of plans, because otherwise I'm just going to keep making the same mistakes, and I'm going to fall into the same trap that hurt the people I care about right now. So, I need to not make plans. That said, I'm expecting to be in the city that I'm in, my home, for a while. I do still want to leave, and that does still need to be a priority, but I need to leave smart, and I need to leave on my own terms, and not just run away from my problems. Because that's not going to be healthy, and that's not going to last, and I'm just going to screw up like I did this time. I need to have an exit strategy. Like with my most recent mistake, I need to have a plan to deal with things when I mess up. But I need to make sure that my exit strategy isn't just run away. I need to make sure that it's kind and thoughtful and respectful to the people that I'm involved with, and I have not done that well. I need to do stuff. I don't do things. I've been back for 4 days, and I haven't really done much. I've cleaned up around the house, and I've exercised, and I've unpacked, and that's it. That's all I've done for 4 days. And sure, in some ways that's kind of productive, but I need to do the kind of stuff that makes life worth living. I need to not just sit around the house and do nothing, because that's a waste of a life. And this goes back to I need to make friends, and I need to interact with people, and I need to not just sit around and fester all day. One thing that I learned from this whole experience is that I can't really do repetitive well. A lot of the stuff that I spent my time doing while I was away was a lot of repetitive tasks and things like that, and I'm not suited to things like that. I get bored really easily, and I tend to pick up new stuff pretty quickly. So that means that I'll get tired and bored with things, and when I get bored with things, I tend to get angry or stressed out, and it messes with my head, and it makes it hard to do stuff. So going forward, I need to try to find more dynamic groups of people to interact with, or more dynamic things to do for work or free time or whatever. Because if I keep it fresh, then I can stay excited and invigorated about that thing, and it makes it easy to give it my best effort. And last of all, and most importantly, sometimes I need stillness. Over the last couple days of being home, the thing that has stood out the most to me as the most dramatic change in my life is stillness. I think over the years I kind of got scared of it. That quiet that comes when you're undistracted and not really doing much of anything. The quiet tends to fill up with bad thoughts for me. Regrets, mistakes, awkward moments, times that I wish I could take back something I said. All those unpleasant things that you know you did that sort of churn your stomach and make you hate yourself. That's what stillness has meant to me for a long time. So I keep my music turned up too loud, or I watch TV all the time, or I fall asleep watching reruns of my favorite shows, or I fill up my days with games on my phone and talking to people and texting people and IMing people, and I distract myself from that stillness. But when you start to peel back all those layers of distraction, all you're really left with is yourself. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. It kind of forces you to think about and inventory all of your actions and experiences. I'm not really much of a believer in the idea of a soul or a higher consciousness or anything like that. So to me, all a person really is all the things that they've done and all the things that have been done to them. And sort of how that settles out in your head. I think that's what makes stillness important. It makes you look at everything you've done, and it makes you look at who you really are. And it's made me realize something. I'm not that good a person. I've done a lot of bad things for flimsy reasons, and I have to figure out how to deal with that about myself. Now, I'm not one for forgiveness. I think forgiveness can only really come from the people you've hurt. But I am one for acceptance. I need to learn how to accept the stuff that I've done wrong. I need to be willing to feel the guilt and regret and shame that comes from all the stuff that I've done wrong. Not to beat myself up about it, but to really get into the meat of why I've done these things that I don't like, and to figure out how to not do them again. Because I feel like it's only when you are willing to take in and accept the shame and regret for what you've done that you're able to figure out how to be a better person. And so that's what I have to do, because I'm not happy with who I am right now. and I have to fix it. And that's what I'm going to do.